Welcome back to TarHeelIllustrated.com, or if you're watching this on our rapidly growing YouTube channel, that's Tar Heel Illustrated. I'm THI staff writer Brandon Peay. Joining me today is our very own publisher, Mr. Andrew Jones. The Tar Heels are in another open date. They have 5 games remaining, and we're here to discuss the offense. But before we do that, remember, you can join Tar Heel Illustrated for only $8.33 a month and get access to everything we do, all the premium content, the basketball recruiting, the football recruiting. You would have known about Zayden High a long time ago. You'd have known that he was trending towards the Tar Heels a long time ago because our own David Sisk was all over it. You get to see all of Dina's recruiting nuggets. So go over to TarHeelIllustrated.com. It's only $8.33 a month. Okay, AJ, UNC is entering the second bye week of the season. So far, Carolina offense is lighting up the scoreboard, by my opinion. Drake Maye leads the ACC in passing yards with 2,283 yards. The unit is averaging nearly 42 points a game. So through 7 games, AJ, what are your general thoughts about the UNC's offense?
Well, I think overall been fantastic. 41.7 points a game, I think, is their average. That's what the 2020 team average, which is a school record. So they're on a good pace, and that club did it with more balance. Like they had a conventional run game, obviously, with 2,000-yard rushers and Michael Carter and Javonte Williams. This year's club doesn't have that. They're a little bit more reliant on Drake, and I think that's okay in the sense that Drake can handle it. He's also running. He's running more than Sam did in 2020. Sam's running came last year for the Tar Heels. But I think overall the offense has been outstanding because they've done everything they need to do to win games, with the exception of Notre Dame. And they actually, Drake's arm and Antoine Green getting open kind of kept them sneaky close in that game. They would have needed a miracle to win it, but it appeared to people they were completely annihilated in that game. But then when you look at it, they only lost by 13. And that's how Drake's arm and someone like Antoine Green or Josh Downs can keep them in games, even when a lot of things aren't going well. And that's sort of the theme. The defense has been terrible for the most part, and they're 6-1. They're 6-1 because the offense has been outstanding. They're 6-1 because Drake Maye is one of the best quarterbacks in college football. And I really think that as much as people want to find other storylines about the offense, and there are some concerns that we'll discuss as well in this podcast, Brandon, but Drake has been incredible. There's no other way to say it. Dina was so right a couple of years ago when she said, Andrew, he's got the it factor. And she was right. And she kept repeating that. Nobody else in the media said he had the it factor when Dina was saying it for a couple of years. And as we got closer to him starting the season, and we knew for a long time he was going to be the starter, no disrespect to Jacoby Criswell, but Drake's just sensational. He can make all the throws. She kept insisting he had the it factor. It wasn't just the arm. It wasn't just the legs. It was his patience, is the fact that he was raised in a family where the boys were ultra competitive athletically, the parents were competitive athletically, and he was a young one. He was getting pushed around all the time. Imagine what the older brothers did to him over the years. And he grew up getting stronger, physically stronger, mentally stronger, even securing deeper competitive roots within him. And we're seeing that. We're seeing that play out. Arm strength is great. Making throws is great, but it's his decision making. It's the fact that he's totally unrattled. The patience he showed the other night, rolling right and hitting Caleb Hood in the end zone with that touchdown pass, is the kind of stuff that very few guys have. And he has shown through 7 games that he literally checks every box as a quarterback. He's got to hold on to the ball a little bit better. And he's got to stay in the pocket sometimes a little bit more. Sometimes he holds on the ball a little too long. But he started just 7 games. He's at the beginning of his football career, essentially, and he's already borderline great. Even when he's been bad for him, he's been close to great. That's how good he is. And because of him, that's how good this offense is. They have a lot of other really good parts, Brandon. We'll get into that as well. But the Drake factor is off the charts. He is that good.
Okay, Andrew, I just want to ask you just one question. I remember Dina saying that Drake Maye had the it factor. She also said one other player in that class was the most underrated player in the class. Who was that? Do you remember who that was?
Yeah, it was Caleb Hood.
Yep, and that's going into the running game. That's one thing UNC has struggled with the conventional running game, meaning giving the ball to the running back and letting the running back run. They're averaging pretty good running numbers, but they're not good at running the ball when the defense knows that they're running the ball. So Andrew, I want to ask you this: do you think that's something that can improve on as the season goes on, or do you think that's just something that maybe the Tar Heels have to wait for next season for the running backs to develop a little, or maybe a little bit of both?
Well, they need to develop during the course of the season. And, they're trying to change instincts with some of these guys. A lot of true freshmen don't play in college football. So they've asked two to try to assume significant roles this year. Marion Hampton has. George Pettaway's kind of slid back a little bit. He'll be fine. People are concerned and wondering, boy, he's going to leave or whatever. He's going to be fine. He's an extremely talented dude, but he's learning how to be a college football player. That's a different thing than high school. As far as O'Marion goes, and talking to people around the program, he needs to run with his head up. He needs to see where he's going, basically. He's not yet adept at seeing the hole open up. They don't do a lot of zone blocking stuff, but in football, when you're a running back, you as a former offensive lineman, Brandon, know, and I'll use old terminology here because that's all I know. But let's say he's supposed to go through the 4-hole. That's what the play is designed. But the 4-hole isn't there, but the 2-hole is. He's got to be able to see that and bounce through the 2-hole and get into the second level. He doesn't really do that very well. He's learning to do that because in high school, he just run guys over. I mean, he's the kind of guy that could have, hey, there's a linebacker over there. I'm going to purposely go run him over because he could. This is a different animal for him now. So he is in that process. The reason Caleb Hood has ascended to the number one running back spot is because he's the most trustworthy of the running backs. The coaches know at the minimum what they're going to get from Caleb. And they know that he checks all the boxes. He's a football guy. His dad played at Carolina. He was raised in a football mindset. He played quarterback in high school. So he's got a great feel where everything is. He's comfortable in all parts of the field. He's not, Marion, the wider he gets, maybe he's less comfortable right now, right? Mm-hmm. George, we haven't seen enough of him really know, but Caleb is comfortable going wide. He's comfortable going tight. He's big enough to run between the tackles. He's quick enough to get around the corner. He can catch the ball and turn up field. He has 9 receptions in the last 2 games. One's a touchdown. I think 7 are first downs. So he's been very productive there. And he's also really good at pass blocking. You were sitting next to me in the press box at Duke the other night. And Carolina was at about 35 on TV. I believe it was right going left. That's where it was for us in the press box. And Drake was going to pass. He rolled a little bit to his left. And Duke blitzed. I think it was a right corner or their left corner. So it was on Carolina's right side. And Caleb picked it up. Smacked. Mm-hmm. The blitz didn't work. He was right there. And he had to move to pick it up. It wasn't like the blitz came right to him. He was lined up here and had to step back. He had to recognize step and meet it. It was a perfect execution. So he's trusted with that. As far as your question goes about how much better it can get, I think Caleb's solid. Mm-hmm. If they can get enough of a conventional run game, I think they'll be okay moving forward because part of the run game is Drake. I know that coaches don't want that to be the case. When I think of conventional run game, I think of running backs. Yeah, handing the ball off, pitching. They've been using the pitch a little bit more lately too, by the way.
Especially
they did a lot against Duke, and it shows that Caleb can go wide, and there's a quickness there, especially when he's healthy. He's been banged up a lot. That's why he was banged up again the other night for a stretch, and Elijah Green gave them some pretty good snaps. But when they play some of the better teams, some of the good defensive teams on the schedule, the run game, some of these teams are going to try to make them one-dimensional. Drake is good enough to win a lot of those games, but the tougher the competition gets, and if they happen to win the Coastal and face Clemson, I don't think you can beat a team like Clemson being one-dimensional. So they do need to get the conventional ground game going, and then Drake is a complement to that. You don't want him to be a crucial part of the ground game as far as amassing numbers. You want him to more complement it because he's getting hit too much, Brandon. The pass protection is so-so. He's getting hit a lot there, and he's running the ball a lot, and he's getting hit. He had the dirtiest uniform of anybody on offense here tonight.
Yeah.
And that's probably not what you want. So they can get better. I don't know how much they will get better. They need Hampton to really have a great open date week in practice. They need him to start seeing things better. And if they could get a second running back that they can consistently trust in the run aspect of the game, I think that would make them a little bit better team for sure.
I agree. I think one area that obviously they haven't struggled in, because if they were struggling in this area, this offense wouldn't be nearly as good, is the passing game. And I was just looking at some of the numbers. It's just amazing how well the ball is being spread around this year. And you touched on Drake Maye earlier, and obviously Drake Maye is a huge part of this offensive success. But the consistency of the weapons that Drake Maye has around him, I think that's something that we have to talk about. And so can you just touch on the weapons, Josh Downs, Antoine Green, some of the consistencies that we've seen? We haven't seen many drop passes. So can you just touch on the weapons of the UNC's offense?
It begins with tight end. They've already exceeded last year's numbers.
True. I didn't forget about that.
And there's a couple of things about the pass game right now, why it's so unbelievable and better than a year ago. Before they played FAMU, one of the things we kept saying about Drake is he could see the whole field. Remember some of the open practices we went to? Yeah. You could just see him see the whole field, and he could make those throws over the middle. He could lead guys that are able to get yards after the catch because of where they get the ball, and also utilize those tight ends, Morales and Nesbitt and Copenhaver. So the ability to throw over the middle changes the way defenses play you. It stresses the hell out of defenses, as you know. And I think the numbers are fascinating because the one thing Sam may have struggled with other than holding on the ball was consistently finding stuff over the middle. Well, of Drake's touchdown passes this year, 5 have been short distance over the middle, 5 have been intermediate distance over the middle, and 5 have been long over the middle and center. 15 of his touchdown passes have originated in the center of the field. Mm-hmm. That's something. He has thrown 104 passes that ended up as first downs. 69 have originated in the center of the field. And it's broken down into 12 areas. So 4 of them are right down the middle. You got behind the line of scrimmage, short, intermediate, and long, right down the middle. He's using the middle of the field. He's using the tight ends. And because of that, Antoine Green's finding himself in some one-on-one situations. Drake's big pass plays, when PFF breaks down the passes, they do it behind the line of scrimmage between 0 and 9 yards, between 10 and 19 yards, and the final category is 20 or more yards. Drake wasn't completing a lot of 20 or more yard passes the first few games, but suddenly Antoine Green comes back and he's hitting him for big plays. J.J. Jones has had a couple of big pass plays, right? Drake has like 25 completions, 20 or more yards down the field now. So that having to defend the middle of the field, every part of the middle of the field, okay, and having a guy like Antoine Green who can get in one-on-one situations and get wide open has really opened up this offense. And then the factor that Drake can run. Drake can run wide. He's not afraid to run down the middle. They can freeze linebackers with what they do. And it's fascinating to watch from the press box when you could see a linebacker literally freeze for a split second. Like, do I get the tight end? I have to have eyes on Drake? What else is happening? And if they're so uber focused on Drake possibly taking off, you could freeze a DB for a split second, and there's Antoine Green or J.J. Jones racing downfield, or even Kobe Paysor. So the tight end element and the use of the middle of the field has been an enormous plus for this team, and is something that wasn't either utilized or wasn't there as much a year ago.
I'm actually glad you mentioned the tight end, because I was watching the game. I was rewatching the game yesterday, I believe. And there was one actually on the touchdown to Kamari Morales. UNC put in 3 tight ends. And I was just thinking, like, as a defensive coordinator, you see 3 tight ends. So you're thinking, okay, traditionally that's a run package. But then those are pretty much 3 receivers you put out there. So if you put 3 linebackers out there to try to guard them, it's not going to be it's just really hard to match up with
that. It looks like a power run left. Yeah. And 2 of them immediately went out for passes. And then one of them, I think Morales, gives the look that he's staying back to block, and it's like 1/1000, then he releases
and drags the opposite way in the flow.
Yeah, exactly. It's beautifully orchestrated. And I got to mention Josh Downs, obviously. Josh exploded on the scene in the Orange Bowl 2 years ago when he had the gig him down thing and changed that rule. and he showed great explosiveness. But one of the things I've got to commend this guy for, he is tough, dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's like 5'11", 175 pounds when wet, and he is the toughest dude on the field. He's become a great possession receiver.
Yeah.
A great possession receiver. His ability to get inside bigger defenders and always hold on to the ball is an unbelievable quality that he has. It's why he's going to play at the next level, because he could burn, but he doesn't need to burn right now. And he said in August, and I kind of chuckled when he said it, because I'm like, Josh knows he's really good. Josh is a guy that would probably love just to rack up sick numbers and let the world know it, right? But he said, look, if I can be a decoy so other guys can go long, I'm happy doing that. Well, he's not a decoy because he's a weapon, but so much of his stuff is short stuff now. And it's opened up all the long stuff. If you have to commit 2 people to him and he's running 15 yards and in, and you have the element of the tight end over the middle, and you have the element of Drake running, again, Antoine Green, J.J. Jones, they're going to be in ISOs all game long. And I think you're going to see Carolina hitting more and more deep balls. It's increased the last few weeks, and I think you're going to see even more moving forward. And Downs commanding so much attention by the defenses and being an absolute surefire, chain-moving guy allows all that to happen as well. Their passing game is as good as any in college football.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. And lastly, the people who protect Mr. Drake Maye, the offensive line, obviously they haven't been living up to the standard probably that the coaching staff has wanted, but they've definitely played much better than last season. There's less sacks. There's a lot more cleaner pockets. What are your thoughts on the offensive line going forward?
I think they've been okay. I think Spencer Rowland has gotten better, and that's helped.
Yeah, I agree with that.
As he's gotten used to playing against P5 competition, he's gotten better. I think Jonathan Adorno was much better Saturday at Duke than he was at Miami. And again, it's reps for him. He played but a half at Miami, and he's played the whole game at Georgia State, I believe, and the whole game at Duke. So he's a young dude getting reps, getting better. Gainer's been very solid at the line. They love the way he communicates at the line and makes the calls up there. Montilus has been really solid at left guard. I think Richards has been very good at left tackle, but it's interesting. They don't run in that area very much. They run a lot right, or they run wide left. And I find that to be interesting. Part of that might be because they've always wanted and envisioned that William Barnes would be a road grader at guard. And I think at times he's been that. But the other day, I think Adorno was giving him some of that. And a lot of it's because Spencer Rowland doesn't get beat a lot. I know there was that video of him getting housed against Notre Dame, but that's just one play. Everyone's going to get that every once in a while.
For sure. Yeah.
One of the things that it's impressed me, and you can actually see this in some of the clips on Jacob's highlight video that we posted Monday on the site. It's also on our YouTube channel. We talk about leverage with defense, but I think for an offensive lineman to have leverage that can sustain a block, even when he gets in compromising positions, if you will, or if he's being moved, his ability to sustain blocks while moving has been something that impressed me just watching those clips right there. So I think the line's been okay. I think they can get better and will get better. The pass protection, it's not great. It's not terrible like last year at times. And part of that, Sam was credited with a lot of those sacks last year because he held on the ball too long. There were a lot of hurries. At one point the other night, I said to you, I said, Duke only has 1 sack, but man, they're making Drake move. Drake is dirty. He's filthy out there because they're getting to him a lot. So they do have to get better at pass protection. I think part of that's the running back situation. When Caleb's out of the game, they're not getting a lot of help there. DJ Jones was pretty good at picking up, but he's out now, and I have no idea what the status with him is. So they do need to get better, both run blocking and pass blocking.
I agree. The running back, I agree with your point you made about the running backs. You can't have guys that you bring in just to pass block, because then you start to give away the game plan. But AJ, I think that's a good point to wrap it up. I thank you guys for joining us. For everybody, I've been Brandon Peay. He's been Andrew Jones. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.